we're expecting around 60 people. So
Wow.
we're halfway there. So just hang tight for just a few more minutes. Keep entering people into our group and get started.
I have a question though. I had a meeting with Judy the other day, and she says you've got some matching funds. Is whatever you gather, will it be matched?
Yes, sir, it will. And we'll share that with everyone a little bit later, for sure. We will be sure to share that great news.
Well, my sister and I just dropped a big check in the mail on Monday because of that. We had some funds from our trust fund, so I was delighted to know that they were going to be matched.
Thank you so much, Father.
They're calling in rather than video.
Well, Jennifer, why don't you just add Father's and Betty's donation to the match and make it a bigger match?
We certainly could. We certainly could. The more the merrier, right?
Yes.
You'll all hear very soon how deserving St. Damien is of all of your support.
So, Gina, no.
Well, the checks were for $5,000 each. So
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Father John. And Betty, a hug for me.
I hope the mail gets to you.
Oh, there she is.
So Enzo, there you have it. Our match challenge this evening is 35,000. We love leveling up. That's fantastic.
Bill?
Jen, how do we look with our numbers?
We've got 41 so far in.
Okay, we'll just give just another few minutes and we'll get going.
So I have a question. Will the match cover contributions that were made in sync with this, but like within the last week or 2 weeks?
Yes, they
Or
will.
anything that was in response to, great, good.
Yes, ma'am.
We're starting early.
So we can't choose who we see.
It's amazing how you can hook all this
60
stuff up
people.
into.
Yeah.
Well, Jennifer, you've certainly brought lots of new people into the organization. I don't recognize anybody here.
We have.
I do. This is kind of like
Jane, you recognize Judy?
Hi, Regina.
Oh, Nellie Johnson, I recognize.
Hello, hello.
Judy, your hair looks blonde. What did you do?
What?
Your hair on the screen looks blonde.
Oh, I must be by my window.
Can you hear me? No.
So I see we're at about 43, Jen.
Yeah.
One more minute. I think we'll start at 8:05 and just allow one more minute. I don't know if you see anyone waiting to enter the room yet. No. Okay.
Wait a minute. Yeah, we'll go wait one more minute and then I would say go ahead. Yeah.
We've got our wine open.
Good.
Judy, we have ours poured.
Good. Great.
And by a light. And my husband Tom is here. Here, Tom, say hi.
Hello.
Hi, Tom. Great to see you.
You look good.
Good.
Nice birthday.
I did. Thank you very much. I did. Another year around the sun.
Well, that's good, right? It's all good.
It is good. Okay. I think we should go ahead and get ourselves started here. We have fun to be had. So for all of you, I'm going to say hello collectively. My name is Jennifer Reno. I'm the director of the St. Damien Pediatric Hospital Fund at NPH USA, and welcome all to our virtual wine event in support of St. Damien Hospital. Before we get started, I'm going to just explain a few of our Zoom features tonight that will enhance our experience together. If you hover your mouse at the bottom of your screen on the Zoom screen, you'll see that there are a number of icons, and They include a chat and a Q&A. And if at any time that you'd like to ask a question, we'd kindly ask you to post your question in the Q&A window. And we are going to be answering some of those questions when we get toward the end of our program. So feel free to type those in as they come to you. And if you have a comment, please post that in the chat box. If you would like to move between speaker view and gallery view, you can hover your mouse in the upper right-hand corner and click back and forth. If you're on the gallery view, it allows you to see all the folks that are joining us this evening. Everyone will be placed on mute so that our featured guests can be heard during our program and throughout the rest of the event. We would ask that you keep your mute button on also so that we can get rid of any background noise that might occur. And additionally, we will be recording this tonight, so I'll be sharing it with you after the event, making it available online. I'm so delighted to have you all with us. It's just wonderful to see all your faces. If not anything, that this coronavirus has brought us all together more intimately on Zoom, because now we're not just on the phone saying hello, but we get to see each other's faces. So I'm so happy to have you with us. And at this time, I would like to introduce and thank our very special guests tonight. And they are Judy Barrett from Chateau Montelena. Judy, if you can give a wave. And Sherry Bowen, also from Chateau Montelena, their hospitality manager, Sherry. And as well as Father Enzo del Brocco, who is a friend of Haiti and of St. Damien. And we are just super excited for the event that we have planned for you, the wine that we're going to drink. And without further ado, let's get started.
Judy Barrett, dear friend. Hello, Jennifer, and all of our other friends. Hello to all of you at Chateau Montelena. How grateful we are for the event that you're having in these unusual circumstances in order to try to help here at St. Damien Hospital, where I'm sitting. I'm sorry I seldom have the chance to get prettied up. My hair is a mess. I wish I could get it cut someplace that would do a good job. Luckily, you can't smell me. We have so many problems. As you know, my work is a lot of the environs of St. Damien. Jacqueline can give you more information about St. Damien, but among the tasks of today was painting coffins for children. There are so many deaths of children because of the increased hunger in the country, and especially gunshot injuries from the gun wars in Cité Soleil in very difficult places. As you know, both at St. Damien's and over where the adults are at St. Luke, we're nonstop trying to help people with COVID and the adult part, and Jacqueline will tell you about the children. We've had almost 1,000 cases since March 16th, and I've taken personal care of all of those admitted to the hospital, which is 606. The other 350 some were able to be treated as outpatients. So I've seen a lot of death and a lot of horror of this virus that's plaguing our countries. And I think the circumstances that we're living everywhere make even more extraordinary acts of love like yours, acts of generosity like yours, acts of service like yours, and acts of solidarity like yours. So we use the short video to tie ourselves together again briefly, more importantly to tie our hearts together again after so many years. Thank you so much for your help and your support. God bless you.
A gifted speaker.
Mm-hmm. You know what? He's gonna get it, isn't he? This is nice.
Is the mute button on or off?
Jen, you good?
Yeah, sorry.
Just bear with us.
Hi, Judy. Hi, everyone. Thank you for participating in this activity. When NPH, nos petits frères et sœurs, came in Haiti over 30 years ago, Father Rick wanted to open a shelter for orphans in order to raise them and educate them. But pretty soon he realized that the health needs for children in Haiti were tremendous. So he opened a hospice. And in his words, let's help children die in dignity. Remember, in this time, HIV/AIDS was rampant, and children were dying by hundreds. But pretty soon, a colleague, pediatrician, and myself realized that we could do more. We could save some of those children. And so palliative care changed toward curative and preventative care, and gradually we had a hospital. So fast forward 27 years, we were Mother and Children 234 beds hospital, offering basic care, preventative care, as well as advanced care such as cardiac surgery. We also offer training for young physicians to become pediatricians or to become pediatric surgeons. Haiti children pay a huge toll to the dire economical situation. Half of the population live out of $2 a day. What can one do with $2 a day? That means children die before they reach 30 days of life, or they die before they reach 5 years of life. Infant mortality, for instance, in Haiti is 32 out of 1,000, when it is only 15 per 1,000 in other countries in the Latin American area. Likewise, many women still die in Haiti giving birth. We do intervene in those two areas, diminishing mothers' mortality giving birth and diminishing infant and children mortality. We want to continue this work. And came COVID, posing a huge challenge to us, but we responded, opening a unit for COVID for the children. And so far, we have screened almost 300 children, out of which 43 had confirmed COVID. Unfortunately, 5 of them died. Many of them came really too late for us to do anything. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to our story. It's a wonderful story despite all the odds Haiti have, despite all the negative stories you get. We're offering hope. And thank you for listening to us. And thank you, enjoy your time, and let's all of us stay away from COVID.
Yes.
You need to unmute yourself. You're muted.
Okay, now I'm unmuted. Okay. I would just like to explain a little bit about the history of the connection between Chateau Montelena and St. Damien's. My late husband, Jim Barrett, who passed away about 7.5 years ago, was a great friend for many years of Father William Wasson. I'm sure most of you know who Father Wasson was.
Better.
Who introduced us to Father Rick in about the mid-1980s, long before he went to Haiti. Jim served on any number of NPH boards. I mean, he was at one time on the Italian board, the German board, the Swiss board. He had a background as an attorney, and so that he just really fell into this, loved the work of NPH, and particularly after we visited Haiti, that really became a great focus for us. Actually, Jim was way back when, instrumental in hiring Jennifer to come to work for MTH. So we go back a long, long way. Father Rick was not able to be here when Jim's funeral was held, but he came several months later to pay his respects, and also he gave some talks at our local parish. Jennifer came along on that trip, I think, and we hosted a little event here at the winery, and out of that grew a group of people who are still carrying on under the leadership of Monsignor Brinkle, who happens to be on, and he's viewing today with, well, first of all, through Father Brinkle's influence, a young man by the name of Will Agee made a feature film that I'm sure many of you have seen called The Land of High Mountains. If you haven't seen it, find out from Jennifer how you can. Will's mom, Mary, who's a friend of mine, is hosting Father John to watch us all today. I hope you're all following all these connections. Anyway, I also served on the NPH USA board for a time, and I see a lot of my former colleagues on the call. Regina, John Iberly, I think is going to be on, Nellie, and I think is John Deinert on? Jennifer, do you know? I know he was signed up, but John is going to be taking over as the new executive director.
John, you should say hello later. I know you're on the call.
Yeah, okay. So, you know, I keep thinking, oh, and then I believe Dr. Jeff Kemp is going to be on the call. Our local group sends Napa Valley wines to him every year when he does his Drink Red for Haiti event for raising money for Akron Children's Hospital, who partners with St. Damien's. All of these great interlocking connections, I think, are so terrific. I wish I could see a Venn diagram of how everybody is interrelated here. I'm sure I've left out many other people that I've either met somewhere along the way or has some connection with me or somehow. Anyway, it's great to have you all here. Welcome to Chateau Montelena. We're going to enjoy some great wines together. And I think right now I'm going to get that started. We're going to see another little video, which is a welcome to Chateau Montelena. And then Sherry's going to lead us through a little tasting. I'll give you a little bit more history about the winery later on. And then we will go into the second wine. But first of all, welcome to Chateau Montelena. It is an absolutely postcard, picture perfect day in the Napa Valley here today. Not too cold, not too hot, just right. A Goldilocks day. And so, video.
Dark, rich, complex. The grapes grown at Chateau Montelena have produced some of California's best wine for decades. These grapes have consistently been the starting point for an unbroken string of first-growth wine in the Bordeaux tradition. Situated north of San Francisco, the chateau sits at the head of the Napa Valley, ideal country for growing a world-class grape. In 1972, Jim Barrett revived Chateau Montelena as a winery. After Jim's passing in 2013, his son, Bo Barrett, took the helm as CEO and master winemaker. Today, the family continues the tradition of making some of the greatest wines America has ever produced.
Hi, everyone. I'm sorry, go ahead, Judy.
Okay, I was just going to say, the building you see on your label is actually a real honest to goodness building that you just saw at the end of that little video clip. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. So Sherry, let's get started with a little Sauvignon Blanc.
Terrific. Hi, everyone. My name is Sherry, and I'm the hospitality manager here at the Chateau. It's a pleasure to join you tonight. First of all, everyone should have opened up their wine. If they haven't, please go ahead and do so. The first wine that we're going to be tasting is the Sauvignon Blanc 2019. Now, we make very classic style wines. We really believe in the right grape in the right place. We're looking for well-balanced wines, very food-friendly, age-worthy wines. We don't want one influence overwhelming your experience of your senses. So this particular wine is going to have the Sauvignon Blanc grape, but it's also going to have 19% Semillon. And that is a different grape. Both the Sauvignon Blanc and the Semillon are the two top grapes that you would be seeing in Bordeaux, France. So this should be your traditional Bordeaux-style French wine that you would be drinking if you're in the countryside. Very light, very crisp, beautiful floral and fruit notes. Now, this is our current release. The 2019 is normally not introduced to the public until the middle of July. However, this particular vintage was so incredible. We've released it a month ago. So we've been enjoying this on our tasting menu in the tasting room as our guests have been enjoying and visiting us. So with that, cheers.
Thank you. Thank you, Sherry. As Sherry said, we make our wines in really kind of classic styles, always made to be enjoyed with food, totally food friendly, and made to age. Typically, a Sauvignon Blanc, you don't want to age that too long, but our Chardonnays have been, which is another white wine, can age very, very well. So if you like to put some wine away, that would be a good one to do. Other wines are made to drink when they're nice and young and fruity. Calistoga, where we are located, is at the northern end of the Napa Valley, which tends to be kind of the hottest part of the Napa Valley. So we're not really ideal white grape territory here. So our white grapes come from sources down near the city of Napa, which tends to have a little more of the San Francisco Bay, San Pablo Bay influence. A little bit cooler days than we have. Calistoga is red grape country. So Cabernet Sauvignon and Zinfandel thrive here, and that's what we're well known for. Little of the ownership and history of the winery. This was we were started by a man named Alfred Tubbs back in the 1880s. And he was one of those early San Francisco entrepreneurs. He was a contemporary of Leland Stanford, kind of a shaker and mover. He became a California state senator, had a thriving fleet of ships, and he also had the first rope walk on the West Coast where they made hemp rope for outfitting sailing ships and for farming and ranching business. Everything was going along great, and then along came Prohibition. The winery had still been in the Tubbs family up to that point. Prohibition kind of closed things down. This is a 30-second history of the wine industry in California. After Prohibition, which lasted about 20 years, we're in the middle of the Great Depression. After the Great Depression, we're in the middle of World War II. By this time, wineries have gone to ruin. Vineyards were replanted during Prohibition to other crops or grapes that could be shipped cross-country unrefrigerated to home winemakers. And we had really lost a couple generations of people who were used to drinking wine with dinner. So it wasn't until the 60s when people started traveling to Europe more and becoming interested in having wine with their meals, more interested in food and wine, that there was a real renaissance in the California wine industry. And in 1976, a guy named Stephen Spurrier, who was an Englishman with a wine shop in Paris, who catered to American and English-speaking clients who lived in Paris, he decided it would be fun in conjunction with the US Bicentennial to have a tasting with top wine industry experts from France, a blind tasting of French white Burgundies and red Bordeauxs, primarily Cabernet Sauvignon grapes, and compare those with some of these little upstart wines from California. Nobody here really knew what was going on. We kind of shipped wine. It was for some kind of tasting, and everybody thought, oh, well, it's for something at the ambassadors or something connected with the bicentennial, but we had no clue of the groundbreaking event that this turned out to be. It's now known as the Paris tasting, or the Judgment of Paris. And funny thing happened. Here you have these French experts, like the head sommelier at La Tour d'Argent, professors from the winemaking schools at Montpellier, the woman who was the editor of one of the biggest French wine journals. These were the tasters. And guess what? Chateau Montelena Chardonnay took first place with the whites, and another Napa Valley winery, Stag's Leap, took first honors in the Cabernet. We did not have a Cabernet in that. This event changed the world of wine. Up to that point, it was kind of, French wines were the gold standard, which absolutely, there are wonderful wines from France. There's also a lot of plonk. Nobody really took California seriously up until that point. And all of a sudden, it really changed the world of wine. And I must say that people who love wine, all of you, are the beneficiaries of that, because it really upped the ante all over the world. You know, people in Australia and New Zealand and Chile and South Africa and all around the globe were saying, if the Yanks can do it, so can we. We have these little ideal pockets of soil and climate, and we have the drive to do it. So that was the big game changer in the world of wine. And today, if you go to the American history part of the Smithsonian, in the food and wine section, you will find a bottle of Chateau Montelena Chardonnay and a bottle of Stag's Leap Cabernet, just a little ways beyond Julia Child's kitchen. There was just something up from John Iverly about watching the movie. There was a movie made about the Paris tasting, which I have to say, spoiler alert, there's no boxing ring. And it was probably 85% Hollywood, 15% fact, but it was a fun movie anyway. It's called Bottle Shock, and you can still find that here and there. If you're really interested in this, there was a fine book written, probably 20 plus years ago. There was one reporter who attended the Paris tasting. This was a closed event. There were no audience, no people applauding at when the results were announced. There was one reporter, his name is George Tabor, and he wrote a book called The Judgment of Paris, which is quite factual, and it delves deep into the various owners of the wineries that were involved, to Stephen Spurrier, who put it on, some of the other people who were involved. It's a good read. So if you're interested, you might look for that. I think that's probably brings us pretty much up to date on the history of the winery. We are kind of an anomaly anymore in the wine world. We are 100% family owned by members of the Barrett family. myself and my stepchildren. And that kind of brings us up to date. I think, Sherry, do you want to introduce the Zinfandel? I love the Zinfandel because these are my next door neighbors. I've lived for a long time out in the middle of the vineyard. Jim and I built a home there, and we're surrounded by vines and mostly some of the old Zinfandel that's been here for a long, long time. Sherry?
Excellent. Thank you, Judy. So we have about 6 core wines, and the dream was to just make sure that we did a small number of wines very consistently, celebrating the place that they come from, making it a classic approach. We really wanted to make sure that it was food friendly. The dry or semi-dry Riesling, the Chardonnay, and the Zinfandel were the first 3 that we were doing in the early 1970s when Jim Barrett purchased this property. And the Zinfandel, as Judy said, is actually from this place. Now, Zinfandel can tend to normally be very jammy, very complex. It often has a spiciness or pepper notes to it, and sometimes can have a real high alcohol content. Now, when we say that we're making classic style, we're really trying to find balance of the fruit and the acid. We're also trying to do lower alcohol. That is something that's really important so that we can celebrate the grape in the bottle. This particular Zin is going to be a little bit more elegant in the approach. It has 14.5% alcohol. For anyone who recognizes Zinfandel, that's actually really subtle, very reserved for a Zinfandel. Oftentimes the Napa Zins are so structured and so complex, they actually are served after a Cabernet. But this particular one is able to be what I would call the gateway to our reds. Now, food-friendly pairings with this wine, it's going to go great with your comfort foods. I'm going to suggest barbecue anytime you have Zinfandel. It's just a wonderful pairing. This is also light enough to be able to be enjoyed with your Italian marinara sauces. So lasagna and your spaghetti, anything with a tomato base, meatloaf, because the tomato base inside of that is a wonderful pairing. Smoked meats, any type of cheese and charcuterie, and I love it with any type of, this is the red I'm going to go to when I'm doing my holiday. So it's so light that it can be enjoyed with your turkey and your ham for Thanksgiving. So with that, enjoy and cheers.
Yes, I like it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna fix you a hot dog for dinner with this. You're gonna have a hot dog for dinner with this.
Bo Barrett. Bo Barrett will tell you, and that is our CEO and Jim's son, Judy's son. Bo's going to tell you pizza wine. This is his pizza wine.
I make a killer meatloaf, and I like it with meatloaf. I think, Jennifer, are we ready to switch over to Father Enzo?
Oh, good.
I think Sherry's going to take us inside the caves, no?
Yes, I can do that. Let me take a moment to share my screen. This is going to give you a little virtual tour of the beautiful estate here. It's named as one of the top prettiest sanctuaries of all of Napa. And instead of me just explaining it, I thought I would visually be able to transport you from your living rooms into the estate here in Calistoga. So one moment as I go ahead and share my screen. It's loading up right now. Bear with me. Can everybody see, Jen, can you see the
yes.
the screen? Okay, terrific. And it's a little slow, so bear with me. Okay, terrific. Do you see the Montelena Estate, Jen? Okay, so right now you're getting a great overall view of the property. It's 150 acres, and it's right in the middle of the vineyards. There is a home right in the middle, and that is Jim and Judy's home. So you have to go through the entire estate. This here is the Zinfandel Vineyards. Now, Judy talked about her neighbors being the Zinfandel vines. She's not kidding. Literally right here, the oldest vines that we have in the property since 1972 is the Zinfandel vines. Very gnarly, really old, beautiful Zinfandel comes off of these vines smack dab in the middle of our property. The next is, we talked about the right grape in the right place and that our white wines are not from the property. This is the Knoll district. It's closer to the Napa proper. And this is where our Chardonnay, our Sauvignon Blanc, Merlot, which is one of the blending grapes, and our Semillon, which is another blending grape, come from. And there's just nice, beautiful cloud cover that actually kind of just is perfect for this particular varietal. Now, there's 3 families that have owned our property. We talked about Alfred Tubbs, and we've talked about the bookcase of having the Barretts here. But for a 10-year time period, we had a family here that was first-generation Chinese family. They only purchased 17 acres. And what they wanted to do is to make the castle that you'll see in a next picture, they wanted to make that their home. Prior to them, it was a barrel storage facility. And while they were here, they did 3 significant things. 1, this became their residence. 2, he had a dream of creating the moat that every castle needs in front of it. And adjacent to it, he did this beautiful lake that has Chinese gardens and these beautiful pavilions with the Chinese pagodas that our club members are able to come and enjoy. And it's just serene, and all kinds of beautiful nature is seen throughout the year on this lake. Now, this is the castle. The chateau was built in 1886. Current day, down in the lower level, this is actually our cellar. And above the 2nd floor is where myself and Judy are right now. It's also where our tasting room is. And this is where the residents were when the Frank family was here. Now, this is also a stone front castle. The actual structure is on the National Registry of Historical Landmarks for the United States. Now, if you're visiting, you'd be able to enjoy the outdoors. We don't let you go into the vineyards, which we think is a great opportunity for us to show you the vineyards and how they look. But we also do not go into production or into the caves of the actual chateau. And because we're virtual, we can do that today. So I'm going to take you there next. Also, another really great point is that the chateau changes colors as the seasons evolve. There was no work done on this picture. One of our guests who joined us at 9:30 in the morning during a fall day took this picture and shared it with us, and it just was beautiful with the sunlight coming through, very inspirational. Now I'm going to take you into this little lower area here where the production is, and this is where our cellar, it's right below the tasting room. This was renovated between 2009 and 2011. So for those of you who watched the movie and saw some shots done in a cellar, I will tell you that that was the cellar at the time, but now it's been fully renovated and upgraded to be a world-class winery to allow us to be able to produce the wines we do today, so it does look different. A place that we don't go, though, is the next slide. This is the Montelena Caves, almost a mile worth of caves built into the hillside because we want to protect the wine. So we don't do any tours there because this is where the artistry rests, and we want to make sure we don't disturb it. And it has that perfect cooling climate. And like I said, there's lots of actual caves. This one particularly is for Chardonnay. As Judy likes to point out, we wanted to make sure we didn't accidentally blend any of our red into the white wines and accidentally produce rosé. So it has its own protective cave. That is a quick snapshot. I hope you enjoyed the tour.
And I think we're sticking onto the time schedule pretty well, which is quite amazing. Now I think we're ready for Father Enzo, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Jennifer, for organizing this. Thank you, Judy, for hosting this. And I mean, this is just wonderful. It just continues to show your generous and heart towards St. Damien especially. And I think that would never be enough to say how grateful we are. Unfortunately, last time I missed to visit the Chateau. Hopefully it will happen again once the virus is away. And I was kind of amazed of what you said about when it started in 1989, because 1989 is when I started to discern my vocation. And guess where I was? I was in Paris during the celebration of the revolution, and which is kind of odd, because then I was in the church actually of the Sacred Heart at Montmartre, and that really inspired a lot. So anyway, it's interesting that connection just came to mind when you were telling about the story about the winery. I just want to say thank you to all of you who are participating. This is actually, we're experiencing new ways of staying together in a different way. We're coming together from different places. If you just think of it, I mean, like 20 years ago, this would have been impossible. And despite the virus, we are still able to come together thanks to the advancement of technology and progress. And it shows that if you use it the right way, great things can still happen. And one of the things that I just want to say is like how technology actually has helped St. Damien, for example, advance so much. If no one of like Jacqueline was saying at the beginning, you know, they were just doing palliative care, and they moved to curative and to preventive, and now even heart surgeries. And imagine like the fact that, you know, at the right moment, thanks to internet, you can even, you know, connect St. Damien with other hospitals like Akron or other places, and just have in real time immediately help on how to address certain issues. So that this shows how, you know, the advancement and actually technology, if taken the right way, can really help, especially hospitals in third world countries like Haiti. And when you talk about Haiti, and Jacqueline always says this, you know, we always hear about the sad stories, the sad things, and the despair. And many times we risk to focus more on the despair and then on hope. It's true that Haiti is a problematic place. It's a wounded country. It's been wounded for centuries. And there's still suffering of so many consequences. And this is where St. Damien comes as a beacon of light in the midst of all this darkness. It is a beacon of light because it really gives hope. And trust me, in a country like Haiti, and we're seeing this probably in our days today, it's much easier to disseminate fear and despair than hope. To be able to sow the seed of hope, it really requires perseverance, it requires courage, and persistence. I mean, you really have to persist and never give up. And that's one of the most difficult things I think is to do, but St. Damien is able to do that. I'll never forget when the first time I went to Haiti in January 2014, and I've been there for I've been this station for 5 years, and then last year and a half, I've been going back and forth. And since the COVID, I'm here in New York. But one of the things that amazed me, when I arrived, the first place that Rick took me to was the morgue, which as soon as I landed, I mean, not even going to put my luggage in the hospital. No, the first said, if you don't mind, we're on our way to the morgue. That was my welcoming ticket to Haiti. And obviously that grabbed my heart. And any of those who have been visiting Haiti and the hospital, one of the things that really also kinds of hits you really in the gut is participating at Mass and seeing all those coffins. Like Rick was saying, you know, they were just painting coffins. But then if you still stay a little bit around and you start going inside the hospital and you see what is being done, then you have another window just opens. Today, the church celebrates one of my favorite saints, Saint Mary Magdalene. And she is the messenger of hope. She is the one who, meanwhile, the disciples were all in despair. And now that's, I mean, as usually, you know, as men, the apostles, we always like to give up more quickly. We don't understand what the secret of life is really about, because probably we don't have that possibility to carry life in our, in our bodies. And Mary Magdalene instead, is the one who encounters the Christ and, tells him, listen, the Christ is risen. I met him, and they don't believe him. So when you talk about Saint Damien and you talk about Haiti and hope, I understand it. It's hard to believe, but I can tell you it's true. It's something that's really happening. When the first cardiac surgery was performed on a little girl whose name is Aria, there were really doubts that she would have made it. I mean, how can that ever happen? Well, I don't know if all of you can see the background that I have with all those little children who are part of the orphanage. And I'm just going to move away my bald head. This happened because I made a mistake. I was trying to cut my own hair, but the clippers went wrong. So that's the result of it. So don't look at my head. But look at this girl with the striped shirt, red and white. That is Aria, who is now 5 years old, and she's playing with all the other children. That is a life saved. And not just saved. That life is the living story of Saint Damien. It's what Saint Damien has been able to do. It's interesting. I like to also put in the context Saint Damien of wine tasting. And everything that both Judy and Sherry, you've been saying, apart from loving to cook, I really love wine. So I like all the details that you've been explaining. Actually, this is really similar to a Primitivo of Puglia, I would say.
Yes.
It's interesting. Yes, it has that chocolate, flavor to it. So it's really interesting. But anyway, let's go back to Saint Damien. Saint Damien is like wine. It's something that's been built not just to respond to a moment. It's something that is called to last into time. And in order to last into time, it has to be able to age and always become better. And it's been improving year after year. What I've seen in the 5 years I've been there is just incredible. I mean, thanks to your donations, the hospital runs now on solar panels. It's saving money on fuel for electricity. And in Haiti, if you want to run a hospital, you have to really have the access to electricity. Imagine if the power will go out and people and little kids are on oxygen, what would happen? It seems, for us, it's all taken for granted, electricity. Not in Haiti. Not all hospitals in Haiti have electricity 24 hours. Think of the cardiac surgeries, and you have Aria there. It's because year after year, this is aging and it's becoming better and better. But to age wine, obviously, you need a lot of elements. First of all, you need the good grapes. And the good grapes, Father Wasson, Father Rick, Jacqueline, all the doctors, they're there. But now to keep those grapes, obviously, like you were explaining, and you don't even allow people to come in, visitors, because you don't want to affect the humidity, you don't want to affect the temperature, you don't want the chemicals that are in the air, and because you really want to preserve it and you want to ensure that it goes forward. And that carries with, especially we're in the business, that carries a cost. Because to age, why does wine cost so much after so many years? Because it costs maintaining it, it costs helping it age. And this is the same thing for Saint Damien. It's just improving its quality year after year. And to see when a life is saved, it opens up your heart. It's like all of a sudden you forget, it's not right, that's the wrong way. But it's like all the pain that you've been experiencing, seeing children have lost their lives, mothers have lost their life. But then when you see, and this happened to me just 2 years ago, a little girl who now carries my mom's name, was found in a blanket in the hospital, under the stairs. She spent the overnight. Why did that happen? No one knows. No one knows if it was a young girl. No one knows what that poor woman had gone through. And so I'm not here, because sometimes we kind of tend to blame, these. No, I always say these women are like Moses' mom. She put him in a basket, put it in a river, hoping that someone would save that child and then give a future. This little girl was wrapped up. She could just fit in my hand, in my hand. She weighed just 600 grams. That's all she weighed. And St. Damien not just took care of her and saved her, but it was kind of stressful because after a while, the child has to leave the hospital. And I was kind of a little bit resisting to have her go immediately to the orphanage because she was too small. And the whole hospital came together, and we've been looking for a family. We found a Haitian family who couldn't have children. This family now has adopted Rosaria, and she is the most beautiful girl. And it's really all about life, and things are unpredictable. Again, it's like wine. You know the grapes, and even if you know all the chemicals and the structure that you wanted at the beginning, you really don't know at the end how it's going to turn out. But if you work around it and you do what you're supposed, it surprises you. And I can tell you by my own experience, St. Damien, since its beginning and to now, in the last 6 years that I've known it, it is full of surprises. And this is thanks especially to your donation, to your support, to your prayers, and really God bless you all. And I want to thank again, especially Chateau Montelena and Father John, who has been also especially kind of the catalyzer, I would say, for things to happen. And yeah, there's going to be a match of 35,000 tonight. You never know, it can become better. I hope that there's going to be some surprises like in wine. So enjoy your wines, keep us in your prayers. And actually, if you have your checkbook in your hand and a pen, drink some more wine before you put the numbers in and sign, okay? So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you, Enzo. And thank you, Sherry and Judy, for sharing so much with us about the Vineyard. It's an amazing history, and we are all very fortunate to be part of it, to really be VIP and to go into places where even a visitor can't go. And Enzo, I expected you to show or tell us something where visitors can't go or wouldn't know, but anyway, we are so grateful. And a couple of things that I'd like to bring to your attention. Aria, for instance, there's a number of people on our call tonight that actually did see the Land of High Mountains, and Will Agee is actually with us. Will, if you want to pop your face in and say hello to everyone, that would be fantastic. But Will created a documentary, The Land of High Mountains, which many of you have seen. And so if you saw the film, you actually saw Aria's heart surgery.
Yeah.
There he is.
Hi there. Sorry, I missed the introduction, but I've been working on grilling steaks out here for these two, so I've had a very important job. But yes, you were in great hands with Father Enzo and Jennifer Reno. Father Enzo featured in the Land of High Mountains and is such an incredible speaker and is such a holy man. And then Jennifer, who's a Wonder Woman extraordinaire. And then of course Judy for organizing this with the wine and Chateau Montelena, and Judy's always been such a big supporter of the hospital. And we're hoping, and I know Jennifer and I have a discussion coming up later this week about the release date of the film so that you all can see it. And the hope is the end of this year, probably in the late fall, early winter. COVID, like everything else, threw a bit of wrench in the plans, but I think we're gonna try to surmount those obstacles and climb yet another mountain that everyone here is so accustomed to doing. So
that is
more your time, and the stakes are burning, so I got to run, but I'm sending my best.
Thank you, Will. Thank you so much. So many of you actually were able to witness Aria's heart surgery, and for those of you that haven't seen the film, when it is released, you'll have the opportunity to see it yourself, and it will amaze you at how tiny she was when she underwent the surgery, and now fast forward to present time, 5 years old, healthy, happy, laughing. Enzo phrased that many surprises at St. Damien, and for sure there are many surprises, but there's another word that I prefer to use, and that's miracles. Because in fact, at St. Damien, there are so many miracles. And we are grateful to all of you who enable us to do our work for these families and produce these miracles. Your prayers, your friendship, your gifts, all of it. So at this time, if you have questions that you'd like to put in the chat box, or if we actually just sort of respect unmuting one at a time, you could pop on and actually ask your question. I think our group is a size enough where we can be intimate. And if you'd like to bring forward a question either to the vineyard about the wine, about anything historical with Chateau Montelena, Judy and Sherry, I'm certain can answer them. Enzo and I can field any questions you might have about St. Damien. We'd be happy to. I feel like we can give ourselves just a few minutes if you'd like to do that.
I'd like to make a comment. Number one, Father Enzo, you know your grapes. Primitivo and Zinfandel are basically genetically pretty much identical. So you are absolutely right. And actually, there are advantages to Primitivo over Zinfandel. And we do have Primitivo in our vineyard. So you were right on that. If you ever are looking for another job, come on, send me a text.
I will come, not just send a text. I will come one day.
Okay, good, good. Just let me know. The door's open.
Is there anything that any of you are burning to know, desiring to know that we can share with you that you may not have heard from Father Rick or from Jacqueline regarding St. Damien at this time? I know there are so many familiar faces on this call, and what makes that so wonderful is that you know intimately St. Damien and you know the works that's being done and you so continue to support it. But if there is anything that we can share with you, we'd be happy to do that at this time. And otherwise, I'll be very respectful of your time and say goodnight if you'd prefer that also.
Jennifer, I just wanted to mention while you were speaking, I'm not sure whether you noticed the little note up at the top that the AG family is making a very generous donation. So
I did.
We're on our way with that match.
Yes, thank you very much. There will be an opportunity for for anyone on this group to contribute to the campaign through tomorrow morning to help us achieve this match. And this is the link that you can use to do so. And we will be following progress and sharing it with all of you. Well, I think then we can conclude
I would just like to say thank you to everyone for joining us tonight. I hope you found it interesting. And if ever you find Napa Valley on your travel itinerary, when you call up, we're open for visitors by appointment only now. If you do decide to come, hey, whoever you talk to when you make that reservation, mention that your connection here with St. Damien's and that you were on call. We'd love to welcome you.
I'll tell them about this.
Judy, we are getting a question. I'd like to learn about how Jim Barrett encountered Father Wasson and became enthusiastic about NPH.
Oh gosh, that goes back decades and decades. Jim was a real estate attorney in Southern California. His law firm was quite specialized at that time in the area of shopping center development. And he worked for a developer by the name of Ernie Hahn, who was good friends with a man named, I can't remember his first name right now, but it was Mr. Vandera, who is the head of the Vons Markets. Those of you who are from Southern California probably remember Vons, V-O-N''S. Ernie Hahn and Mr. Vaughn were, I don't know how they ever got connected with Father Wasson, probably because he knocked on their door enough that they responded, but they were both big donors to the orphanages back then, it was basically Mexico. We were involved. Actually, we met Father Rick when he was still working in Mexico, and then he went to Honduras to open the home there. So we go back that far. Jim just fell in love with the work, fell in love with Father Wasson. Those of you who knew Father Wasson, he used to drive his board and all of his advisors nuts. He'd read something about, I think we need a home in fill in the blank, and everybody'd say, but Father, we already have X number of children in these other homes that we have to feed, clothe, and educate. And he'd say, God will provide. And you know what? God did. But it used to just drive everybody crazy. Father wasn't just, you know, you guys figure out what we need to do. I see the need, it's going to happen. That was kind of his attitude. But yes, it goes way, way back. Even before I knew Jim, he was associated with Father Wasson. And as they say, Father Rick was studying and working in Mexico, which is where he met Father Wasson. And, you know, Father Wasson had that ability to, those of you who are fishermen, set the hook, you know, you're on the line there. So the rest is history as far as what Father Rick has accomplished. First of all, starting the home in Honduras and then moving on to St. Damien's, which has been just phenomenal. Those of you who've been to Haiti, I know your reaction is the same as mine. A visit and you are never the same again. It's just a remarkable experience. And, you know, you see the worst possible of human conditions, and then you go to a place like St. Damien's, and it's hope, as Father Enzo said. You experience hope, and as Jennifer said, miracles. So, yeah, it's a life-changing experience.
It is, and thank you so much for expressing that, because you've seen it firsthand. There is a random question in terms of what's growing in the rows between the Zinfandel.
I can't remember the exact slide, but it's probably mustard, which grows wild here. We also plant cover crops. These are things that replenish nitrogen and other nutrients. Those cover crops are then in the spring, when they die back, are plowed into the soil and provide nutrients for the soil. That's really a beautiful time to come here in, say, late January and into February, when all of that wild mustard is blooming. It has this beautiful, vibrant, chartreuse yellow blossoms. It's one of the most beautiful things you can imagine. But yes, it's there for a purpose.
Before we end our call tonight, I certainly don't want it to be lost on us that John Deinhardt was mentioned, and I know that John is here with his wife this evening, and I'd like to have John just say hello to all of you. You'll be seeing him very soon. He is our newly appointed CEO of NPH USA and will be joining us officially next month, so in just a few weeks. John, are you still with us?
Thank you, Jennifer. I've been pushing the space bar here, like mute, unmute, mute, unmute. I'm just dying to get in here and say thank you to everybody who's participated. I want to introduce you to my wife, Crystal. We've been married 25 awesome years now.
There's a delay.
We might have a little bit of an internet delay. But I wanted to thank every one of you. I am so blessed to have the opportunity to work with you all in advancing the mission of St. Damien and of NPH. I've been part of the NPH family and been blessed to serve on the board with many of the faces that I see tonight, and have been a longtime supporter of NPH, and it is the greatest blessing of my entire life to be able to serve each and every one of you in this capacity. So thank you for everything you've done. We stand on the shoulders of those who come before us, and I come on the shoulders of many, many, many great and incredibly generous people who have done so many great things to transform lives across Central Latin America, St. Damien's Hospital, Haiti. I am thrilled and blessed beyond belief. And I want to thank you guys again for all of your generosity tonight. And I look forward to seeing each and every one of you. God bless you all.
Thank you, John, and thank you all so much for spending this evening with us. We thank you for all of your support and anything that you might be able to provide us following the link or by mail that would help us reach this $35,000 challenge for St. Damien that is so deserving in providing care for Haiti's most vulnerable children and expectant high-risk pregnant mothers. Please stay well. God bless you and good night.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Enzo. Thank you, Sherry. And thank you, Jen Turner, tech support extraordinaire. Thank you all so very much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
everybody.
Jennifer. Thank you, Judy.
Good night.
Good night.
Say good night, Jen.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Hello.
Thank you.
Hi.
It's incredible.
No, look at all these people who are.
I know. I love it. I love seeing lots and lots of little boxes.
Nicely done. Thank you.
Hey, Belinda.
Good job, everyone. That was awesome.
Oh, it's good to see you guys. I love it.
We were so well represented tonight. So many states coming into this one call. It's really fantastic.
No.
What did you say?
Great job, Jennifer.
Thank you, Xavier. Thank you for joining us. Thank you so much.
Very, very proud.
Thank you. Thank you. Hi, Molly. Hi, dinner crew. Thank you for joining us.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. We're
everybody.
first timers. Had a
Children.
wonderful time. Thank you.
I'm going to share with the last folks that are holding on. In Haiti, to say goodnight, we say bonne nuit. So bonne nuit.
Bonne nuit.
Bonne nuit.
Bon nuit. Good night.
Good night. Thank you. Leave.
I know there's a
And then I'll also, Jennifer, I'll save everything in the notes and all. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thanks so much.
Mom, can I not use